McDonald's is a place to rock. It is a restaurant where they buy food to eat. It is a good place to listen to the music. People flock here to get down to the rock music. Rock and roll McDonald's. 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 McDonald's hamburgers are the worst. They are worse than Burger King. A Big Mac has 26 grams of fat. A quarter pounder has 28 grams of fat. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock over London. Rock on Chicago. Wheaties represent champions.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had McDonald's? What's your favorite item? Maybe nuggets, a Big Mac, heck, maybe even a quarter pounder. What about fried chicken? What about pizza or tacos? I know what you're saying. Mr. Graham, they don't serve any of those at McDonald's. You're crazy. The snow days have finally gotten to you. They're gonna fire you and give your teaching job to a robot with a mustache and quirky outfits. Well, just hold your horses. Let me explain before you replace me with AI. The point I'm trying to make is that no matter where you go in the US, you'll find mostly the same menu at every McDonald's franchise. Maybe some regional special offers, and of course the menu has changed in other countries, spawning such incredible names as the McSpicy Paneer, the McRaclette, and my favorite, the McArabia. But by and large, most US McDonald's have the same old boring menu. But it wasn't always that way. When founders Richard and Mac McDonald, yes, Mac McDonald, created the menu in 1948, it had just 9 items. It was made for speed and efficiency. They only served what they could make quickly. When their business partner Ray Kroc finally convinced the brothers to expand the restaurant into a national franchise, they faced a severe problem. The more they grew, the harder it was to preserve their original menu. Franchises in all parts of the US began freestyling and adding their own menu items. Eventually, though, through some clever business deals, Ray Kroc found a way to force franchisees into sticking to the menu. But the issue they faced is still very interesting. McDonald's was a victim of its own success. The bigger they grew, the harder it became to keep things unified. Before the internet, social media, and advances in transportation, it was difficult to keep an eye on all those franchises and keep everyone on the same page. But Mr. Grimm, I promise, I'm getting to the history part, just let me cook. The lesson of McDonald's can teach us a lot about China, and not because they have the second most locations of any country, but because the Tang Dynasty suffered from almost this exact problem. Last we left off, we talked about the advances China had made under the Tang Dynasty. Tax reform, land reforms, improved trading, more respect for women. By all accounts, China was thriving, but it was also growing. Under the Tang, China's territory grew 5 to 6 times larger than the Sui dynasty. Historians estimate that at its peak, it was home to nearly 80 million people. This all helped to drive the Tang forward. More people, more goods, more trade, more prosperity. But this was an awfully big empire for just one man or woman to overlook. That's right, I didn't forget about Princess Wu. But not even girl boss diva Princess Wu could oversee a territory this big. Even with the Grand Canal, communication between different regions of the empire could take weeks. This led to some necessary delegation. You know what delegation is. It's what happens when your mom tells you to do the dishes and you delegate that task to your younger sibling. The emperor would appoint military governors to oversee troops, taxes, and other government officials throughout the different regions of China. Think of these military governors like the managers of little Tang Dynasty food franchises. The emperor can tell them what to serve, but ultimately, when his back is turned, they're able to put whatever they want on the menu, and that includes rebellion. During the Tang Dynasty, the empire also switched from armies made up of part-time farmers into full-time standing armies with paid soldiers. This made those soldiers even more loyal to the governors, the guy who actually commanded and paid them. This would come to a head in 755 AD, when the most powerful of these generals, a man named An Lushan, finally decided to make his move while the emperor wasn't looking, leading to what would be known as the An Lushan Rebellion. In the end, the Tang pulled through, limping away from the fight, just barely hanging on. But the emperor, scarred and paranoid from the rebellion, had to give up even more of his power to other regional governors who had helped him defeat An Lushan. After the war, many of these governors ran their territories like independent nations, keeping all the taxes from their citizens, and back in the capital in Chang'an, the emperor instilled his trust into the only people he was convinced wouldn't try to kill him and start their own dynasties: the eunuchs. Yes, the eunuchs. But Mr. Graham, I still don't know what a eunuch is. Stop! That's what Google's for, okay? Don't ask me. Don't ask me what a eunuch is. Anyways, of course, the eunuchs couldn't be trusted either. And I mean, who can really blame them for that? But by the 800s, eunuchs had almost complete control over the seat of the emperor, sometimes even assassinating and replacing the sitting emperor with a child who they could more easily manipulate. Sound familiar? Maybe from our buddies in the Han Dynasty? If there's one lesson you take from this class, never trust a eunuch. So now we have an emperor who is useless, palace eunuchs conspiring in the shadows, regional governors keeping all the tax money to themselves. Oh, and also add to that a massive drought and widespread famine among the people of China. Sheesh, maybe the mandate of heaven is legit. But to put it plainly, the Tang were in deep poo-poo.
Hey, who ordered the poo-poo platter?
To make up for the tax money that the governors were withholding, the Tang government decided to take control of a very important commodity. That commodity was salt. The government made it illegal for anyone else besides them to sell salt, and then jacked up the prices 10 times as high. This resulted in a huge backfire, as a salt merchant named Hong Chao decided to lead a revolt of angry, hungry peasants against the corrupt Tang government in 874 AD. 10 years later, the rebellion was successful in defeating the emperor, but not in resolving the conflict. The Tang was at an end, but the rebellion launched China into decades of fighting and chaos. So, what's the lesson here? Well, besides not trusting eunuchs, which is still very, very important, the Tang were, as we said at the beginning, victims of their own success. Though they were thriving, growing, and successful, no system is too big to fail, especially not one that hinges on the complete power and oversight of one person or even a small group of powerful people. Perhaps if, like McDonald's, the control was placed into the hands of a more flexible and responsible government, we would see the birth of successful innovations like the Big Mac, created by McDonald's franchisee Jim Delegati in 1967 and launched as a nationwide item in McDonald's locations just 1 year later. Yes, there is a lot you can learn from a Big Mac, trust me. Now look, is McDonald's perfect? No. Do they exercise some tyrannical control of their own from time to time? Perhaps. But the point is, in the past, they benefited greatly from balancing control with the input from their workers, like Mr. Delegati. We have seen the rise and fall of 3 major dynasties in China so far, all due to the shortcomings of a powerful few to meet the demands of the many. Maybe the lesson is that listening to the people should extend further than just a few reforms at the start of each dynasty. And maybe dividing power up more responsibly from the outset would prevent the ping-ponging of tyrants seeking control. But who knows? I hate McDonald's anyways. Bye!
I just ate McDonald's. I said hi to Ronald. I just ate McDonald's. I said hi to Ronald. I just ate McDonald's. I said hi to Ronald. I just ate McDonald's. I said hi to Ronald. Hey, Big Mac, patty whack, give a dog a bone. If you don't know me, just search me on your phone. You tryna mess with me, but you know I'm in my zone. After I eat the Big Mac, you know that I am